Good afternoon. My name is Winston Jones, and I serve as the Associate Dean of Students and Acting Director of the Office of Multicultural Affairs. Today I have the honor of welcoming you to the Martin Luther King celebration. We are excited about this next hour. We have a wonderful presenter. We have some participation from our university choir, gospel choir, and we have some special, exciting little tidbits for you. We hope to celebrate Martin Luther King in a way that honors his legacy, that honors his ideal of what can we do for others? How are we living our lives that allows us to better the world? And as I welcome you on behalf of the Vice President of Student Success and Dr. DeSalle, and the Associate Vice President and Dean of Students, Dr. Danielle McDonald, I want us to think about that as we go through this process. Who are we? How do we live our lives? How do we give back? How are we unselfish? How do we dedicate our lives to be more, to be about the community, about our values, about our principles? And today, I think we're going to have a good start in doing that. As you take this next hour to reflect, to learn, to engage, please think about that. So let's get this wonderful presentation going. And I really appreciate that you have taken the time to join us today. And on behalf of the Office of Multicultural Affairs, the staff, that has put this together, we really appreciate you joining us today. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day.
Welcome to the Mlk Plaza, here at the University of South Florida. Sitting in the center of the USF campus, the Mlk Plaza is dedicated to the late civil rights leader, and it's all because of the students. The plaza first came to be when the Black Student Union and student government joined forces to name the plaza in King's honor. It was first dedicated in 1982, where the plaza was barren and empty, for there was nothing there. In 1995, the student body chose to spruce up the plaza, and USF spent $1.8 million to renovate the area, including recasting the bust. This new bust includes a neck and shoulders for King, but it also has something else, his actual height. Just beneath the bust are 5 lines, each representing cities relevant to King's struggle: Boston, Washington, D.C., Atlanta, Montgomery, and Memphis. To the west is a reflection pond, and further west is the inscription of King's famous "I Have a Dream" speech. As one stands and reads the speech in the evening, the background is a vast western sky and a typical beautiful Florida sunset.
Hi, I'm Dave Hilfman. As a proud USF alumnus, and as somebody who had the privilege of serving as USF student body president for 2 terms back in 1982 to 1984, I remember fondly our discussions about honoring the great Dr. Martin Luther King, specifically about setting aside a piece of land right outside the University Center to, honor the work and the legacy of Dr. King. We had the Student Government Association, we had the Black Student Union, we had a bunch of the administration, including our president, John Lott Brown, and of course, the famous Phyllis Marshall. We all discussed what was the right thing to do, what could we make happen, and I'm so proud that we were enlightened enough at the time and made it happen. We got that piece of land right by the University Center, and it's carried on ever since. We thought at the time we needed to find a way to showcase Dr. King's work, remember, his message of speaking truth to power, the power of course, diversity and inclusion. And I think we got it done with the MLK Plaza. I know it's been renovated, and there's many things added there. But I'm so proud to be a part of the history back then, and will always be forever grateful to the student body at USF and everybody involved in that project that we made it happen. Go USF.
When I think of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., I think of solidarity and precognition. Solidarity in the sense that he had a common cause and a dream, and he wanted to unite people of all nations, colors, and creeds to understand that, yes, these are a part of our social constructs, but it's just that. It's social, but it doesn't make us who we are. And people look at, their race or how much money they have to say that they're better than the next person. He wanted to eliminate that and say that together we can be a stronger people for a unified cause. The reason why I said precognition is because he has the famous quote of saying that maybe I fear that I'm integrating my people into a burning building or a burning house, saying that nowadays, while segregation isn't there and black and brown people and people of different colors and creeds can now be united, there's still this kind of difference and this kind of separation. We're still dealing with socioeconomical problems. We're still dealing with voter suppression and police brutality on black and brown and melanated people. So while yes, times have changed, it's still dealing with a time where there's a lot of turmoil amongst us.
When I think of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., what comes to my mind is I think of a king. The reason why I say a king is because Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was born in a time where really everything was stacked against him. Everything was stacked against minorities, period. But he took that and he used it as fire to fuel his engine to bring people together. And look at what he accomplished. He had the 1,000-man march. He's done a lot of things, and I feel like it's made him a really influential person in our community, especially when it comes to the matter that, yeah, we're all different people, and yeah, we all come from different backgrounds, but at the end of the day, we're all one people living on this planet. And if we work together and we accomplish the same goals, we can actually make so much good happen, and we can actually see us start to flourish as a people.
When I think of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., I think of courage and bravery.
When I think of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., I think of peace.
When I think of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., I think of community. I think he brings people together. I think of equality. He fights for peace, fights for justice.
I think of having strength in the face of adversity, as well as finding ways to celebrate diversity.
When I think of Martin Luther King Jr., I think of opportunity. I think of the idea that I can be anything that I want to be, and the fact that him and so many others so long ago saw that before I could see it for myself, now I can be anything that I aspire to be.
I'm actually a poet. I've been writing poetry since 2011, and it's really important to me to not only express my opinion and my perspective, but it's a form of catharsis for me. So basically I take my emotions and I put it on the page, and I'm able to express myself and deal with the problems of life. But I want to empower others to kind of find their inner voice. So I'm actually the host for TP, or the Poets, here at USF, and I basically empower people to kind of get out of their comfort zone. And sometimes people have works and they feel uncomfortable sharing it in front of people or getting their perspective out, or they feel like it's too personal. But I feel like it's my job to encourage them to understand that their words and their perspective can help someone else. So I always do my best to just make sure people have a voice. I feel like perspectives are important. I feel like people, when they have conversations and things like that, they don't care about what the other person is saying. And there's a lot of adversity amongst people with their voices. So I want to make sure that people have, their say-so and have their opinions and make sure they're heard, which is why you should go vote.
So what I'm doing for others is I'm using my time and I'm dividing it into two things: in my personal life and my business life. So in my personal life, I have been trying to talk to people and see what their perspectives are like, because in my relations, I feel like it's very important to be able to take yourself away from your ego and take a step back and actually put yourself into somebody else's shoes, because once you do that, you get to see how they operate, you get to see their perspectives in life, and that way in future endeavors, when they take certain actions, some ways you might have taken negatively, but you won't, because you know how they are. And I feel like it's very important to let people know that, look, we're different people and we've grown up different ways, and it's caused us to think different things, but that's perfectly okay, because as humans, that's what makes us unique. But we have to learn how to work together, and we have to learn how to be cohesive and operate as a unit. So in my personal life, I would say I'm trying to change the perspectives of people one at a time. But now, in my business life, with business, I say like schooling and everything. So my end goal is I'm hoping to become a pharmacist. I've been a pharmacy technician for about a year now. I've been working in a pharmacy since I was 18. And my mom, she's actually a nurse practitioner. And my family, a little bit of history about them is they're actually the first people of my family to be moved here to Jamaica. So that makes me the first one born here in America. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get my license here in America and become a pharmacist and then move back and help my mom open up a clinic in Jamaica, because I've noticed that people down there really they just don't have access to all this medication. And I know there's a little bit of controversy behind medication, but that's just because people use it not the correct way. But if we educate ourselves on these medications and actually see what they do to help boost people, we can see that there's a lot of good to be done and we have the resources to do it. We just need to go do it. And I feel like becoming a pharmacist is the way that I can do that.
Well, I'm trying to be selfless in ways other people shy away from, and also trying to lead by example and not just with my words.
I volunteer in the community by coaching football, youth football, and I also volunteer at Metropolitan Ministries by administering food and other essential goods to the poor.
For other people, I am just showing love, trying to make people have a good day, try not to judge, try not to let anything negative get to me, and just spread that positive vibe around.
Well, by joining student government, I have found ways to advocate on behalf of students and their interests, as well as actively practicing compassionate engagement with my peers.
I think the biggest thing that I've been doing for others has been education. I think a lot of times when you think of misconceptions, you think of war, you think of people fighting with each other. A lot of it is misconceptions and people being ignorant to maybe a certain topic, which causes people to feud to begin with. So the importance of education and how no matter what you go through, you can never touch this, I think is so important. And when you educate others, you can have those open conversations and really be a listening ear for someone. And I think with education comes a lot more things like respect, integrity, honesty. And so I think education is important. We should all educate each other.
Good afternoon. The theme of this year's luncheon, celebrating Dr. Martin Luther King's birthday today, is what am I doing for others? And what a year already. The events of January 6th, with the insurgent actors taking over the United States Capitol, and the social justice protests of last year brought about by senseless deaths of Black and brown people, have finally illuminated the reality that marginalized groups are in fact treated differently, even though the U.S. Constitution says otherwise. Oddly, people of color have said so for years. Research has shown that Black men are more likely to be in prison than any other population in the U.S., that Black women are more likely to get subpar health care, resulting in all sorts of unnecessary health problems and dying early at the hands of apathetic and sometimes biased doctors. I could go on, but dwelling on the negative can be counterproductive. The protests of last year were a call for action, demanding pathways to equal treatment as the United States Constitution has promised us. That call for action has resided in me for a long time, but to act and be part of change has required understanding myself through my upbringing, my parents' values and self-understanding, my experiences living abroad, and in the United States, my journey as a mother, my professional aspirations, and my academic career. I woefully am aware of what it means to be a woman and a person of color. I attempt to transcend the tensions of being a Black woman in all facets of my life. That is, after all, why I opted to study race and racism, as I did not digest the painful reality of being a Black woman until I was 30 years old. My self-actualization as a Black woman required I research the subject of race and racism, and I did so as a non-traditional student while working full-time and raising an amazing son. The more I read, the more I began to understand that, one, the books I read acknowledge the problem of a racial divide, but never offer next steps or solutions. Two, the issue of race and racism is very nuanced and requires a multi-layered recognition and grasp. And three, I'm certainly not alone or the only one. Then, always honoring Dr. Martin Luther King's work and never forgetting that were it not for him, I would not be speaking before you today. Here's what I do for others. I listen, I empathize, I reflect, I learn, I believe, and I share. So a recent example of listening and empathizing. Because I spent my formative years in collectivist societies, I just say hello to everyone, from customer service people on the telephone, to waiters, to random strangers, just about everyone. It occurred to me that people would not share if I didn't engage with them first. My loved ones do not always understand, often looking at me like I have two heads because my niceness annoys them. However, if you know me, you know that I don't care much what people think. And now I have evidence that saying hello is a good thing. Last spring, 2 weeks after Florida shut down because of COVID, I finally ventured to Publix because I'd run out of food. I noticed an empty checkout line and thought people were idiots for not taking advantage of a free line. I said, "Hello, how are you?" As I always do to the young woman behind the counter. She looked at me in disbelief and with a cracking voice said, "Thank you." Of course. I asked, "Why are you thanking me?" And she repeated a faint "thank you," told me how much I owed, and put her head down. I wished her a good day, but she followed me to my car and wanted me to know how grateful she was for being kind to her. Since I looked completely bewildered, she explained that customers would not go to her line. And when they did, they cursed at her and accused her of bringing coronavirus to the United States. In that moment, I realized she was of Asian descent. She shared she was biracial, Chinese and white American, and for the first time in her life, she was afraid of being in public because of the racist rhetoric propagated about coronavirus. What do you say to a woman in tears who is petrified because of the color of her skin? I told her what I personally need to hear every time I'm confronted with the insidious nature of stereotypes about Black women. I see you, and I thank you for risking your life to work at Publix to check me out. And shame on the people in this world who are more comfortable with ignorance and bigotry than to have an open heart, be honest, kind, and work hard. I saw her spirit lift, and when she thanked me this time, it was with resolve and strength. Reflecting. I reflected on those interactions for several days. Racism in the United States is not just a black and white divide. Racism affects all people who are part of a marginalized group. When COVID hit, people who were of Asian descent in the US were discriminated against. I began paying attention to people around me and saw anxiety-filled faces of Asian people walking around clutching their face masks as a means to say, "I'm not responsible." Of course they're not responsible. Those faces reminded me of the images of Black students integrating into predominantly white schools after the Board v. Education case of 1954. I had begun reading Ibram X. Kendi's book, How to Be an Anti-Racist, and was grateful he addressed my questions about racism in today's society. He says, to be anti-racist is to think nothing is behaviorally wrong or right, inferior or superior, with any of the racial groups. Whenever the anti-racist sees individuals behaving positively or negatively, the anti-racist sees exactly that. Individuals behaving positively or negatively, not representatives of whole races. To be anti-racist is to deracialize behavior, to remove the tattooed stereotype from every racialized body. Behavior is something humans do, not races do. Kendi had finally debunked the idea that Black people could not discriminate against Latinos or vice versa. I've seen and experienced that kind of racism against my own. It happens in my own family, with some members expressing utter dismay about my son being smart and so sweet, albeit he's darker than the other folks in my family. So when I read Kendi's other book, Stamped from the Beginning, The Definitive History of Racist Ideas in America, and saw this memorable quote, "There are lazy and unwise and harmful individuals of African descent. There are lazy and unwise and harmful individuals of European ancestry. There are industrious and wise and harmless individuals of European ancestry. There are industrious and wise and harmless individuals of African ancestry. but no racial group has ever had a monopoly on any type of human trait or gene. Not now, not ever. I felt like shouting this quote from the rooftops. Finally, someone had put words to what I've always thought. So now learning. Back to the young woman at Publix. I learned that people who do not look like me feel exactly how I feel when I'm discriminated against or have to negotiate life with the stereotypes that too often make me uncomfortable or remind me that I have to work so much harder than everyone else. So why and how do I learn? The why is because I was not raised in the United States. By the time I landed in the US, it was assumed I knew many things. Let me be clear. To say, I knew nothing. So how do I learn? I read, I study, I write, I connect, I seek knowledge from whomever will share. I do those things with humility because being boastful doesn't lend itself to actual knowledge transfer. While I studied about the plight of Afro-descendants in Sao Paulo, Brazil, and New York City, New York, I now know how Japanese Americans were put in internment camps due to generalized senseless fear during World War II. I know that Chinese and Korean Americans have been discriminated against in American history. I am now aware that Italian and Irish Americans were personas non grata in the US at the beginning of the 20th century. I'm now familiar with the breadth of complexities in the Latin community. I am now aware that a Black feminist wave is directly responsible for notions of intersectionality. I know now how the LGBTQ+ community has managed to secure a number of civil rights much faster than any other marginalized group. Learning has freed my soul. Learning continues to make me whole. So believing. I must admit that believing is difficult. Believing that people are inherently good amidst what I saw unfold on television last week seems impossible. I felt like I had been transported back to a war-torn Congo, watching the US Capitol being taken over. Yet, the response to the attempt to dismantle our democracy made me understand that people won't stand for madness. As unbelievable as it may sound, Lindsey Graham's speech last Wednesday restored my faith because, in fact, democracy does work. I must believe that things will get better. I must believe that I can make a difference, even if it is small. I ask you to believe as well. So now sharing. After learning and believing, I share. I share with anyone who's willing to listen. I'm vulnerable and honest about what I've been through, what I continue to go through. That's right, I'm still uncomfortable. Yet I have a responsibility to share what I know, because as long as I share, I'm part of the solution, not part of the problem. Amidst the televised horrors exacted upon Black and brown people last year, I dared to speak my truth about how I was affected. I have the great honor to teach college students who more often than not are thirsty to learn. So I teach them with anecdotal pedagogy. Those are fancy words for relating my personal experiences vis-a-vis a myriad of subjects to curriculum. It works. It's a fine dance to not reveal yourself in a manner where you lose control of your class or become inappropriate, but it works. Because students heard me in my class 2 years ago. They felt the violence and oppression suffered by Black and brown people showcased last year, and instead of commiserating, they took action. They did something. They wanted to learn more and made it happen. So today, I have the great honor to teach a course that is designed and that is taught by me. In my class, I assess any mindset transformation, and as of fall 2020, I'd made a difference in 21 students. Sharing not only works, but it is gratifying. Sharing makes me better. Please remember that students and staff are modeling you, so share of yourself because they need you to bring your best selves forward. I need you to do that for me. So by no means am I a preacher, but I feel like I'm going down that path. So I'll begin to conclude by asking each and every one of you to honor all of the brave and brilliant people who I know died for me. I will list some examples of quotes I use for inspiration from people who fought for me. In light of what is happening today, James Baldwin said, "The place in which I'll fit will not exist until I make it." And I could not speak before you without bringing up Thurgood Marshall to the conversation, who said, Where you see wrong or inequality or injustice, speak out. Because this is your country. This is your democracy. Make it, protect it, pass it on. What a timely quote in January 2021. When I'm afraid and frustrated, I remember Muhammad Ali, who said, "Don't count the days, make the days count." And he also said, "Impossible is just a big word thrown around by small men who find it easier to live in the world they've been given than to explore the power they have to change it." Impossible is not a fact, it's an opinion. Impossible is not a declaration, it's a dare. Impossible is potential. Impossible is temporary. Impossible is nothing. When I know things must change and I'm comfortable with those changes, I think of Maya Angelou, who said, "If you don't like something, change it. If you can't change it, change your attitude." When I need to be brave and stand up for something I believe in, I recall Shirley Chisholm saying, "If they don't give you a seat at the table, bring a folding chair, and you don't make progress by standing on the sidelines, whimpering and complaining. You make progress by implementing ideas." And I can never forget W.E.B. Du Bois, who inspires me daily, who stated eloquently, "Now is the accepted time, not tomorrow, not some more convenient season. It is today that our best work can be done, and not some future day or future year." When I need inspiration from someone who lives in today's complicated world, I recall President Obama, who said, "Change will not come if we wait for some other person or if we wait for some other time. We are the ones we've been waiting for. We are the change that we seek. And it is you, the young and the fearless at heart, the most diverse and educated generation in our history, who the nation is waiting to follow." Hear that, USF students, staff, and faculty. It is you. And last, but certainly not least, let us commemorate Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who powerfully said, "Change does not roll on the wheels of inevitability, but comes through continuous struggle." I live in a state of gratitude for all of the people who have seen and continue to see something in me that I often can't see in myself. To all of those people who have lifted me up and believed in me, thank you. I won't let you down. And to all of the people who do not wish me well, your negativity fuels my positivity and my resolve. I close with this. Were it not for Dr. Martin Luther King's work and untimely death, I would not be the woman I am, the mother I am, the educator I am, the associate I am, the employee I am, the friend I am. He died too early, and his work is not complete. Don't talk about the work. Don't monetize the work. Just do the work. Your children, your grandchildren, the world needs all of us to just do the work. And I need for you to listen, empathize, reflect, learn, believe, and share. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I'm Erica Daly, a proud alumni of the University of South Florida and a member of the Black Alumni Society. And I'm here today to present the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Scholarship. The Dr. Martin Luther King Scholarship was created by the Black Alumni Society in 1982 to recognize and assist a USF student who best represents the ideals and philosophies of Dr. King. And this is through community service, civic engagement, leadership opportunities, and academic excellence. The scholarship is administered through the USF Alumni Association, and every year we award scholarship to deserving students during the USF MLK Week celebration. Students applying for the scholarship must have a 3.0 GPA, provide a list of civic and volunteer as well as academic accomplishments, as well as write an essay on how they have furthered the goals of Dr. King through education and community service. The applications are reviewed and selected by a committee from the USF Black Alumni Society. Each student recipient will receive a $1,000 scholarship. For the spring 2021, the USF Alumni Association is proud to announce 2 recipients of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Scholarship. The first recipient is Aditya Daga. Aditya is a first-year student majoring in finance with a concentration in investment analysis. While in high school, he served as a debate instructor and has competed in numerous debate competitions within the state of Florida and at national events, ranking number 18 in the nation for congressional debate. He was also a member of the Future Business Leaders of America, FBLA, serving as the chief fundraiser. Aditya is the founder and vice president of Best Fit Organization, a 501(c) organization he and 2 friends founded that is dedicated to breaking down socioeconomic barriers for high school students. The 2 areas of focus for the organization are providing formal attire for events for high school students and scholarship participant in extracurricular activities. Through his foundation, he has partnered with the Salvation Army to open a section of their family store dedicated to having clothing for low-income high school students. And through his foundation, he was able to raise over $5,000 for scholarship for students to have the ability to participate in extracurricular activities, with donations even coming from as far away as the New York Yankees. Congratulations, Aditya. The next recipient is Karen Ruiz Ayala. Karen is a senior majoring in public health with a dual specialty in infection control and global health. Karen has many volunteer experiences at USF and in the Tampa Bay community. She is a student board member of the College of Public Health Activist Lab with the focus of public health advocacy, education, research, leadership, and a service for betterment for our communities. She was a panelist for the Transatlantic Youth Dialogue, and she has served as a tutor, volunteering over 10 hours a week, 10 hours a week to help high school students while schools were closed during COVID-19. Karen has been recognized for her academic excellence and personal achievement from several local, state, and federal entities, including the Black Educators Caucus, Hernando County Board of County Commissioners, the Florida House of Representatives and Senators, and by the United States House of Representatives. Congratulations, Karen. On behalf of the University of South Florida Alumni Association and the Black Alumni Society, we are proud of each one of these students and their accomplishments, and congratulate both of you on being the spring 2021 recipients of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Scholarship. Congratulations.
Hello again. I hope you really enjoyed our program today. I was asked to give closing remarks. As all of you know, last week was a horrible, horrible moment in our history in the United States of America. We experienced something that we had not experienced since the War of 1812, in our country. In that experience, we saw the legacy of racism, intolerance, and indifference and prejudice manifest itself. We continue to try our best in the Office of Multicultural Affairs at the University of South Florida to combat these issues, to redirect the hate, to have love over hate, to have a sense of moral fortitude that will allow us to persevere over these very trying times. My heart sank last week. It has been in trouble all of 2020, but it really sank low last week when we saw the level at which our fellow man, our fellow citizens will go to sustain systemic racism and supremacy and power. But I want you to know that Dr. King's legacy will overcome. We will see the mountaintop. We will go beyond the dream. We will sustain and go far beyond the dreams of Dr. King. I believe that in my heart. I believe that we are a people of love, of consistency, of passion, of justice, of right. What I think we must do, as I tell my students in my class, as I talk to my students and my staff here at the university, one of the things we must do, that we must continue to do, is fight. We must continue the good trouble. We must continue to be as assertive and as passionate about our beliefs as those who fight against our beliefs. We must be compassionate and do things for others. We must live a life of service. I believe that those are the paths, those are the things that many of the experiences that you felt and saw today during this presentation, and the things that I'm trying to do, and the university and the Office of Multicultural Affairs are trying to do every day, are about that, are about making a difference in the lives of everyone that you come in contact with. That's not giving money all the time. That's not even giving time all the time. But it's about being in the moment, listening, caring, and sharing. I hope you enjoyed today. You'll see a slide hopefully that will show other presentations and things that are going to be going on this week. And I hope that you can enjoy them and be a part of them. I want to specifically say go to the USF Office of Multicultural Affairs website. We have a full list of programs this week. And Angela Davis will be our keynote speaker for our ULS presentation next week. And I invite you all to participate and come to that presentation. I think given what we've experienced over the last several weeks, she will be an inspirational and ear-opening voice to the struggle that we all face in these upcoming times. Thank you so much for attending. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. And thank you for being connected to the University of South Florida. Go Bulls.